Ooh. Ooh. That's how Pettis Prado used to signal to his band there was going to be a change in pace. Well, welcome, fellow Rotarians and guests, to reading number 5,292. We don't have anyone that was born on March 31st, so we're going right into hard-hitting Christine Burrows. She joined us in 2003. She's a real estate consultant to nonprofits with Keller Williams and has an inspirational thought for us. Are you ready, Christine? Are you unmuted, Christine?
They muted me again. Okay. I have a short affirmation for you all from a soul guide reading. So here goes. I am talented in my own unique way. My energy can best be suited when concentrated in my specific lane. I invite in other people of integrity with their own special talents to help bring balance into my life. This reminded me of the many Rotarians I've come to know and appreciate through committee work over the years. We each have our own talents and expertise we bring to the table, and together we create magic. I am so thankful for the knowledge I've gained and the friendships I've developed, both of which bring much balance to my life. So, in summary, we are talented, our energies are focused, and we invite others to bring balance to our lives and all our community efforts. Ciao.
Very well. Very good. Yeah, I've heard people tell me to stay in my own lane, but thank you. Let's see. We've got a new member coming in, David Beanie. He was sponsored by our own Rod Diridon Sr. David's an executive director of the Santa Clara San Benito County's Building and Construction Trades Council. So, Beanie, you are not related to the Beanies where I used to go to get my Beanies milkshakes, but tell us all about yourself, David.
Very good. Thank you. So as mentioned, my name is David Beanie, and I am a Santa Clara County native. I was born at Los Gatos Community Hospital in 1969, and I grew up in an idyllic pocket of Campbell that's interlaced with San Jose, Los Gatos, and Saratoga, all just steps away from my house. I have two school-age daughters who keep me delighted and challenged every single day. My father was a Teamster, and his union membership was the foundation of our family's middle-class success. We always had food on the table and clothes on our backs, and all of us could see the doctor whenever necessary. We weren't well-to-do, but we had everything that we needed and more. And this had not been true for previous generations of my family. When I left home to begin my working life, it took some time for the lesson of my father's union membership to sink in. It was after bumping my head against a few barriers that I began to question why my blue-collar choices weren't yielding the same successes that my father's had had. Eventually, the light bulb went on, and I sought out the union in my chosen career as an electrician. It was that experience on both sides of that union fence that solidified my appreciation for union representation. And ultimately, that led to my interest in union organizing and administration. The journey since has been so rewarding, more than imaginable. Seeing low-wage exploited workers blossom when given a new union contract, access to training, and being immersed in a culture of respect for a day's work well done. I just could not be more pleased with the results. Outside of work, I spend much of my time with my two daughters. We like the outdoors, and you could probably find us on the bicycle trail or at a campground or on the lake or at the ocean. There's so many great hikes in this area, I can't list them all. I'll admit I'm a bit nerdy. I appreciate sci-fi as my favorite genre of book or movie. My list of heroes is certainly full of historical figures, such as Franklin Roosevelt and JFK, but you'll also find a couple of the Avengers on that list. And I'll conclude with this. Groucho Marx famously said, "I don't want to belong to any club that would accept me as one of its members, but I will gladly make an exception for the Rotary Club of San Jose. Thank you.
Thanks, David. That's very good. Yeah, a lot of people lose sight of the fact that unions actually were the basis for the growth of the middle class in our country. Somehow things have gone awry in some places where unions are not held as high esteem as they, I think, should be. But with people like you there and to give us the union perspective, I think we'll keep our club in the straight and narrow. Thank you very much, David, and welcome. Hope you enjoy it. Next,
Thank you.
we've got Brian Franklin. Brian is joined us in 2017. He's a broker with Morgan Stanley and is co-chair of the Homeless Impact Committee along with Morris Chubb. So, Brian, what do you got for us today, pal?
Hi, everybody. Afternoon. Wanted to, as President Fernando said, that I'm here for the Homeless Impact Committee. Both Morris and I co-chair that together, and wanted to share an event at our upcoming meeting, which is going to be April 8th at 8 a.m. And it's a pretty timely program that we put together and wanted to make sure that you all know about it, as it's going to impact all of us. So what this topic is going to, at the core, is going to look at the visibly disruptive population within the homeless community. So these are the people that when you think of a homeless, that's probably the type of person that comes to your mind. But unfortunately, that's just a small percentage of the population, but they're the ones that arguably need the most help. So we as a county are at the crossroads of a piece of legislation that's been around, that originated statewide many years ago. And the state has revisited it and said that counties need to either opt in or opt out of Laura's Law. And so within the next couple months, that is at the forefront of what the county board is going to have to look at. So it's timely from the perspective we're going to crack open this discussion. And we've got a panel of experts that look at housing, legal, health services, and have a discussion about those visibly disruptive people that need the most help. And we're going to look at what are the roadblocks to getting support to these people, what are some solutions, and what's the appropriate path going forward. And I would really encourage all of you to attend, whoever that can, because we're going to have some elected officials that are going to be there, and it's vital that they know how you feel about that. Because this is a portion of the population that has been underserved and arguably most need of this service. So it will be a Zoom event. And if I can work with the office here, Rotary office, I'd love to get the invite to all of you so that you have that Zoom link. But once again, it's going to be April 8th at 8 a.m., which is our regularly scheduled committee meeting. So thanks for the time, President Fernando, and I hope I get to see some of you there. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Brian, you and Morris doing this amazing work in such a difficult environment for our homeless. And like you say, those who need the most help are the most difficult to help because they don't accept it. They aren't able to mentally accept it. I mean, we can help the homeless. There are some that are there because they got laid off. There are some there who need some skills training, but the hardest ones are the ones that are the most difficult to reach, who can't follow directions because they're not mentally able to, they're not mentally well. And that is mixed in with the homeless population. And that's what makes this such an intractable obstacle for us.
President Fernando, if I can throw one more thing, you seem to be very astute about this issue. And one of the questions that I hear from people are, well, they're just getting bussed into Santa Clara County from wherever. Well, that's not true. It's something like north of 80% of the homeless community is from our county. So they're not getting, these are local people that need help. So
right.
Do everything you can to attend. I'd encourage it. Thanks.
You bet. Yeah, you know, most people like to stay where they live, like to stay where they know. That's why people live in some of these amazing places where they have snow for 4 months out of the year. They won't move because that's their home. So anyway, let's get on with it. Next up is our next club president, Steve Borkenhagen, joined us in 1992. And he's the executive director of the Urban Confluence. And he and the founder of Urban Confluence, John Ball, are going to give us some information. So Steve, can you come on in?
Thank you, Fernando. And also welcome Christine Davis, who's the vice chair of our board. She's on the call today too. So thanks for coming, Christine. It's my pleasure to introduce John Davis. No, not John Davis, John Ball. John Ball is the co-founder of our organization and also our chairman of the board. And with that, John's got a presentation to update all of you today. So John, it's all yours.
Very good. Thanks a lot, Steve. And thanks for having us. I want to just make a comment about Christine and her husband, John. He's been a member of our Rotary Club since 1985. And many of you know John, and he was a director 2001 to 2004. So we're all part of the family here. I want to just say that we're here today to present to you the winning design. Many of you have seen it through the website and through the emails that we inundate you with. But we were asked to come in and do a little presentation today. So we've got 25 minutes, right, Fernando, to do this? Just kidding, just kidding.
I know.
We're gonna start with a video that's about 1:20, and it's gonna have audio on top of it. So John During, if you could go ahead and pull up that video and play it now, and then I'll speak to you all right after this video is over.
Well, you look good, John.
That was a crash on my side, so I'm afraid I'm going to have to reboot it.
So I'm going to talk, and I'm going to honor my time system here. So John, just let us know when you're ready, and pull it up when you're ready. And you don't need to start at the beginning unless you have to. But so as many of you know, we went through a design competition for the last months called Phase 2, where we took 3 designs through a very rigorous process of design development, and each team got $150,000 to help compensate them for the amount of design that we expected from them. The Breeze of Innovation, which you can see on the Urban Confluence website. If you just Google the logo that's here by my head, and you Google Urban Confluence Silicon Valley on your own, you can see basically everything we've been doing, including the video that John is hastily trying to reboot. I want to reiterate a few things, and that is that this is a gift to the city of San Jose and the people of our community. This is going to be paid for by private philanthropy. And let's try it again, John. So thank you. We're not going to play the second video, John. We don't have time for it. So I'm so just put me back up and kill the screen there. But I want to make a couple points for the audience, and that is that this project is anticipated to go in Arena Green on the west side between Autumn and the river, where a lot of us were working on a cleanup the other day. And we're going to City Council on May 4th for an approval. And I'd love it if you guys could sign into that council meeting and possibly speak on our behalf if you want. And with that, we'll take questions in the chat. And after this presentation is over, we will answer as many questions as we can. So with that, our time is up, and I'll turn it back over to Fernando.
Well, we're looking forward to it. It looks exciting. I don't know what sort of obstacles besides cash you are anticipating, but we'll see if we can tune in on May 4th. The mayor's coming in to talk to us on May 5th on our Cinco de Mayo day, so maybe he'll be able to have some information for us as well. All right, so we have a change in the agenda, just showing how flexible we can be. We've got Sarah Janigan coming in. She's the co-chair of our Fiesta de Gala Rotaria, and she's going to introduce our guest speaker, who unfortunately has to leave at about 1:04 to drive to an appointment. Drive, I said, not to go via Zoom. So Sarah, you there?
I am here. Is Dr. Marty on? Great. I just want to let people know that we do have, even though Marty has to leave a little bit early, we do have some time built into his presentation for questions. So please use the chat and we will try to get to those as soon as we can. So let me begin by introducing our speaker today. Dr. Marty Fenstersheib has a 30-year career of service to the people in Santa Clara County. A board-certified pediatrician, he began working at the Public Health Department in 1984 as the director of the immunization program and a pediatric clinician for the department's refugee health program. He became the health officer in 1994. His career has included groundbreaking work during the AIDS epidemic, and he founded the first HIV early intervention clinical program in California. He co-founded the Ira Green PACE Clinic at Valley Medical Center, and he has been a leader in public health service preparedness, responses to acts of terrorism, and has appeared before Congress speaking on public health responses to bioterrorism threats. Dr. Fenstersheib led the community's response during the H1N1 flu pandemic, as well as being the health department's leader during dozens of outbreaks of diseases, heat, weather, and environmental responses. He retired from the health department in 2013 and thought he was going to live a nice life in his home and enjoy himself, but he was called back into service in the early efforts against the COVID-19 pandemic in the county, and he now serves as the county's COVID-19 vaccine and testing officer. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Marty Fenstersheib.
Thank you very much, Sarah. It's great to be here. And yeah, so I think we have a good amount of time. My plan is to go through a number of slides just to give us some background and then to leave plenty of time for questions, because I think that's really the benefit of my being here. So most of my presentation will be about vaccine. I will start off though by saying that on the big picture of COVID in our county is looking better in some ways. We have our case counts dropping on a regular basis. We are down to about 85 to 100 cases a day, which is pretty good considering that back during that third surge during the holidays, we were seeing over 2,000 cases a day. The death rates are dropping. Our positivity rate for the testing that we're doing, so if you look at all the tests that we're doing, our positivity rate at this point is down to 1%. And that's for the entire county. There are some disparities, and I'll talk about those in a bit when I get to the vaccine part. But we are moved into the state's tier, which is the orange tier right now. And so we're doing better. We just have to continue all of our vigilance and our prevention efforts that we're all doing. I know we all are tired of this. We're all experiencing pandemic fatigue, and hopefully we will see the end of this soon. And that will lead me to my report actually on vaccines. So let's go with my first slide. So first, just to get going, we have moved through a number of criteria for eligibility. This is basically showing where we have been, where we are, and where we are going. We started vaccinating healthcare workers first so that we would make sure that we would have people that could care for those that were infected safely in the hospitals. We also started vaccinating residents of long-term care facilities because those are the people that have been most at risk. Just a piece of information of all of our deaths, 80% of them have been 65 years and older. And so that's why we were concentrating on those residents 65 and older. And again, that's where we moved to. As far as eligibility, we moved to an age criteria. We basically started with 65 and older, then moved to 75 and older, then moved to 65 and older. We then added the groups, the sectors of population that were working in agriculture and food, grocery store workers, restaurant workers, and also we were down in the South County and vaccinating people that are working in the fields down there. Teachers and others in childcare have been also part of the early eligibility, as are emergency service workers. We are now vaccinating all individuals 16 and older that are at high risk because of certain medical conditions, and we have a number of those outlined. The big news is that tomorrow we will be moving to a new tier, a new eligibility criteria, which will include all individuals 50 years and older. The plan is, and these eligibility criteria are determined by the state. I should mention that we do not determine the criteria for ourselves, although we have been able to move cautiously through them depending on how much vaccine we have. And we'll talk about that more as I move forward. And then the governor has basically stated that he would like all of those who are eligible, who are 16 years of age and older, to be vaccinated or to be eligible for vaccination starting April 15th. So let's move to the second slide. Just so you know where we're going here, before we had vaccines, we basically had all of those prevention measures, and that's why we were locked down in our homes and wearing our masks and socially distancing, because we had no vaccine. So people, as you can see in these diagrams where it says no vaccine, most of the population is susceptible. That shows the population in blue, susceptible, and the infected people showing in red without any vaccine and no precautions, everybody gets infected. So that's why we use those measures early on. Now we're moved to the next category, limited vaccines. So we don't have enough vaccines yet, but that you can see at beginning, showing the people in gold who are immunized. And again, the numbers are small right now. So that is why we have to continue to follow our current preventative measures. We're not ready yet to move away from those. And then eventually, hopefully where we will get, as the last diagram there, you can see that most people will be vaccinated, hopefully soon. And we need over 70 to 80% totally immunized so that the amount of infection, even if it's in our community, will not spread very easily because of what we call herd immunity. That's the definition of herd immunity. Lots of people vaccinated, so not very many susceptible people for the vaccine to then attack and spread. Next slide. This is a snapshot from our dashboard, and our dashboard is available on the web. And we have updates on this dashboard on a number of areas. This one is the vaccine dashboard. And this is showing all of those bars are basically every day since we began in early December. The blue bars show the people that have had 1 dose of vaccine in the 2-dose regimen. The green bars are those who have had the 2nd dose. And then the line, the curving red line is showing you the rolling average of numbers of vaccines that we do in a day. And you can see on the far right that number about 15,000 average numbers of vaccines given with a 7-day lag. Total number of people vaccinated that are eligible, 16 and older, with at least 1 dose of vaccine, we're over a third of the county. So that's pretty good. And for those totally completed their vaccination, 2-dose, 20%. So we're doing well. We could do better. Let's move on. And then I won't go over all of these, but this is basically a breakdown of how we've been doing. You can see that number 34% on the top, which represents the 16 of age and older. And then there's a breakdown by demographics. And I won't go over all of these, but just to point out that even though we're doing well and 34% of the total population that's eligible has been vaccinated with at least 1 dose, we have disparities. And you can look quickly and just see Hispanic Latinos are about half of the percentage of the rest of the community. So we are working very hard to deal with the populations that have been hardest hit in this pandemic. The next numbers, I won't go over, but we're at over 70% for those 75 and older, and nearly 70% for those 65 and older vaccinated. Next slide. So what are we doing as far as challenges? We have a lot of challenges on a continuing basis. The vaccine allocations are inadequate. We have tremendous capacity in our county, and we're probably only at about a third of the capacity now as far as how much we're vaccinating, because we don't have enough vaccine. We could do basically 3 times the amount of vaccinations that we're doing now, at about a 200,000 or plus number on a weekly basis. And we still, again, are seeing that equity gap, that disparity, and we're hoping to continue trying to close that, but it takes a lot of work, and a lot of work of people living in communities and helping. It's a community-wide effort to deal with trying to close that gap. We still see some vaccine hesitancy. So people, it's getting better, but people for various reasons don't want the vaccine and have turned it down. So we hope over time that amount of vaccine hesitancy will decrease as we go forward. Next slide. And again, I'm not going to go through all of this, but this is basically saying for those people that were concerned about the development of the vaccine, that everyone said it was done so quickly. Yes, it was done quickly, but none of the steps in the process were skipped. And one of the things that was done to get the vaccine out much quicker was that the manufacturers actually began making the vaccine, manufacturing the vaccine, even while the trials were going on. And that's something that usually doesn't happen. So that after the vaccines were authorized by the FDA, they were ready to go on day 1. Now let's go on to the next slide. So what do we have? We have 3 vaccines right now. We have the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccines, and they require 2 shots. And we now have the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, or Janssen vaccine, which is a single shot vaccine. Next slide. And there's a lot of information on here, but basically it's just showing you the 3 vaccines. Again, as I mentioned, 2 doses for the Pfizer and Moderna, 1 dose for the Johnson & Johnson. All of them had trials in the United States. Johnson & Johnson had extended trials around the world, including in South Africa and Latin America. And then you can see the breakdown of those that were in the trials by their demographics and their ethnic racial breakdown. So there was a lot of inclusion of all races and ethnicities in the trials. The protection against hospitalization and dying from COVID, if you've been vaccinated, is pretty much eliminated with all of the vaccines. We know that people early on heard that the Pfizer and Moderna had a higher efficacy or effectiveness than Johnson & Johnson. But again, that was for some of the moderate diseases. And basically the Johnson & Johnson was actually tested a little later and was up against some of those variants. So it performed very well, but again, it dropped its efficacy for some of those moderate infections. However, for hospitalizations and not dying from it, all of them are equally effective at nearly 100%. Next slide. So again, vaccines, you don't get protection right away. You need, for those that, for the 2 vaccines that require 2 doses, the Pfizer has, the second dose is 3 weeks after the first, and the Moderna vaccine is 4 weeks after the first. You have to still wait, and Janssen is just a single dose, but you do need to wait 2 weeks after you've completed your series, whether it's the one vaccine dose, like in the Johnson & Johnson, or the 2-dose vaccines of Pfizer and Moderna. You have to wait for 2 weeks before you can be considered totally protected. And it takes your body that long to start making the antibodies and protection that you will need. So, people have said, well, can I get infected if I've been vaccinated? Well, if you do get infected just right after or right before you're vaccinated, your body will not have that protection developed yet. And so you could possibly develop symptoms of COVID. And that's why you still have to protect yourself before you get vaccinated, while you're waiting your turn, and then to be careful at least for the 2 weeks after. Next slide. So people are always wondering, what about the side effects? Is it safe? It is safe, absolutely safe. Most people do get some moderate side effects. And those include usually sore arm. I had mine, I had a sore arm, like somebody punched me in the arm. It felt that way for two days, almost 3 days. Sometimes a little redness, maybe a mild headache. Some people get a little bit more of a reaction. They may develop a little bit of a fever, sometimes headaches or even chills. We see that most people after the first dose don't seem to have as much of an effect, for side effects rather, but after the second dose, we see more side effects coming to those that have their second dose. And we have seen, and it's what was proven in the trials, that those people over 55 seem to have less side effects than the younger population. So perhaps that has to do with their immune system and how developed it is, or if you get older, you actually start having a little bit waning of your immune system. And as I mentioned, side effects last for only a couple days or less. You cannot get COVID-19 from the vaccine. There is nothing, there are no live particles of vaccine in any of the vaccines, so you cannot get infected through the vaccine. Next slide. And I just wanted to spend a minute on the variants, because we're hearing a lot about these variants. So multiple variants have been documented around the world. There are a lot, there's actually more than I just have up here, but the CDC has now basically developed a staging of these variants, and the ones that they're pretty concerned about are called vaccines of viruses of concern, VOCs. There are 3 major ones that have been detected in the United States. They also have been detected here in Santa Clara County. I must say also that this is what viruses do. They naturally mutate because, again, they're trying to survive. And so mutation and adaptation on their part is what they do. The way that you can keep viruses from mutating is to decrease the amount of virus spreading around. So that's why we're pushing so hard to keep people protecting themselves, wearing their masks, because the more we do that and the less virus it's circulating, the less chance that it will have to mutate itself and develop a variant. We have that UK variant 117, the South Africa variant, and the Brazil variant. The viruses of concern are considered as such because they're either more transmissible, which we have seen in these variants, perhaps more virulent, or have the potential to escape therapy or the vaccine, the effectiveness of the vaccine. But so far, the studies are showing that the antibodies that are being produced from all of the vaccines have been effective against these variants, although their effectiveness in some cases may diminish. Next slide. And again, just to reiterate that we do have a very active website that has all of the data that you might want, and also the sccfreevax.org website gives you the ability to make an appointment at any of the providers in our community. So the first screenshot you'll see is the one on the left. It's just a bunch of buttons. You can look at the data. And then it's the one on the left says book an appointment. If you hit that button, it will take you to the next page, which has all of those buttons there. And again, depending on who your provider is, you can access their site from this website. I would also mention that the VA is vaccinating all veterans that are eligible at the VA in Palo Alto, and that the retail pharmacies are beginning to get direct allocations of vaccine from the federal government. And you can click there. CVS, Walgreens, Safeway, Rite Aid are having, in increasing numbers, allocations to them from the federal government. So we know a number of people have been vaccinated at those sites. I think the next slide, and then is probably the last slide, I think. Well, this is just basically telling you to go to our site, and we also will have, there's also telephone numbers for all of the providers too that are available. And the final slide, I believe, is just our website again, SCC Freevax. Again, no matter who your provider is, you can access them at our site and then find all of this great information that's available that our staff puts up and updates every day. So with that, I will stop my presentation and see if there are any questions.
Marty, thanks so much. This is Suzanne, and I'm going to be running our Q&A today. Lots of questions, so we're going to do this kind of quickly. So hopefully you can get a lot of quick answers in. Does herd immunity now only include those that have the vaccination? I've been wondering this too. Or is it a combo of vaccinated and those that have COVID?
Well, that's a good question. So, do you get any type of protection if you've had COVID itself? And the answer is yes, you do. But we don't think that it's as strong or long lasting as getting the vaccine. So that's a good point that I didn't say that if you actually have had COVID, we still want you to be vaccinated. So there is some immunity. We just don't understand how durable it is. But we want everyone that's been infected to get the shot. And it has helped with herd immunity to some degree, but we really want to use the vaccination numbers to really define our herd immunity.
Sure, very helpful. Thank you. Do you think we will have to get annual shots for COVID, similar to the flu?
I listen to Dr. Fauci too, and
yeah.
And so we don't know. Nobody has a crystal ball. We're hoping that, this is a race against time. We have got to get people vaccinated before these variants take over. That UK variant is all over the country right now. So if we have to have a vaccine specific for the variants, that's what we will have. And that may mean that we have to get additional booster shots as we go probably each year. But I don't know that for sure. I don't know if we're going to need one or more booster shots. Flu does mutate and change so much that we have to have a new vaccine every year. So we'll see.
Right. Very helpful. Thank you. Does the vaccine definitely keep one from being a carrier and transmitting to others? Do they know that yet?
Yeah, that's a good question. Early on, the trials basically said that if you got the vaccine, you wouldn't get hospitalized, you wouldn't die. But we didn't have enough information to know whether you really could still transmit. There's some new data that's been published and out of Israel too that looks very good for keeping yourself protected from even getting infected. Is that 100%? No, it's not 100%, but I think there's good protection. There's good evidence that there's protection from transmissibility. And even if you get slightly infected, you won't have enough virus, most likely, to transmit it to somebody else.
Got it. Very helpful. Thank you. What do you think about the vaccine passport we're all hearing about?
Yeah, this is new for us in this country. I mean, we want to open everything up, and we're moving very quickly. We don't have enough vaccine. I think we will see the use of and the requirement for vaccinations when we start looking at events and when we start, perhaps even in businesses, people will want to see proof of vaccine. I don't know how long or how widespread that will be, but if you do get vaccinated, hold on to your card. So you can have proof of it anyway. Yeah.
Very helpful. In Israel, there will soon be start daily testing for kids and for personnel. The results are immediate. They'll provide boosters every 6 months. Where's Santa Clara County on the issue, in particular with kids and testing?
Yeah, we've worked with County Office of Education. We have lots of testing available, even at the schools. There are testing services being made available. The teachers, are pretty much all getting vaccinated, so we can get them back. I should mention, though, interesting that all of the vaccines are for adults, 16 or 18 years of age or older. There's really some evidence now that Pfizer will have a vaccine ready to go hopefully in the next few weeks, that will be for kids 12 to 15. So we're
Excellent.
really,
as a mother of a 13-year-old, I appreciate that news
so
this morning.
hold on to your hats. We're looking for that.
That's awesome. And you think in the next few weeks, maybe that would be released?
Well, they're going to go to the FDA for their authorization, and then it's hopefully by May. We'll see.
Oh, that's very exciting. Should pregnant and nursing women be vaccinated, in your opinion?
Good question. Basically, there's not a definitive answer, and no pregnant women. I showed you all the demographics of people that were in the trial. There were no pregnant women in the trial, but there is no evidence that it is harmful to women. We've always said to women to talk to their obstetricians, but plenty of women have been vaccinated. They're doing some ongoing studies to see how that's working, but it seems to be safe for women and lactating women.
That's great news. Any risk for individual with severe food allergies taking the vaccine?
Every time you get it, when you go in to get your vaccine, we will give it to you, and then you will sit for 15 minutes and make sure that you don't have any serious reactions. Those are those anaphylactic reactions that people have that have a history of having an anaphylactic reaction. You have to get an EpiPen. Your breathing starts closing off and whatnot. Those are very, very severe and very, very rare. To answer your question, food allergies, not a contraindication. Asthma, not a contraindication. Seasonal allergies, hay fever, and food, not a contraindication. Go get vaccinated.
Excellent. You're doing great, Marty. Thanks for answering.
I'm on a roll.
You're on a roll. Let's go.
I'm on a roll.
Couple questions here. It's certainly top of mind, I think, for many of us. There seems to be a breakdown between state and county authorities and Kaiser, which is saying it's not getting its fair share of vaccine. As a Kaiser member, I've certainly got my messages from the CEO coming in over this last year. And I think a lot of this has been public too, just around the county and Blue Shield even, and the state kind of battling about making sure that vaccines are getting to where they need to be, not just a cookie cutter kind of solution for or one size fits all solution for vaccines. So can you give us the latest on that in terms of accessibility and equity and how it's being distributed?
Right. So everyone has heard that Blue Shield has been designated as a third-party administrator, and we've had our issues with Blue Shield. In fact, we pushed back against them in this county and a number of other counties, and basically said we won't sign their agreement until they make things a little bit more flexible for us. They did back off, and we did sign an addendum to that MOU with the state, and so I think we have a lot more visibility on the allocations. It looks like we're going to be getting more vaccine over the next few weeks. I know. I think our allocation for this week, we will hear that a lot more Johnson & Johnson vaccine is available to us. And we've been told that everybody will be getting a lot more vaccine in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So Kaiser got a good amount of vaccine. We work very closely with Kaiser, and this has turned into this scarcity situation, high demand, low supply. So we're working it out. And we have a no wrong door policy in this county, so you can go anywhere and get a vaccine, no matter who your provider is.
Quick question I'll slip in here too, just about equity. I mean, we've seen, and we've actually had like Magdalena Carrasco, city councilwoman, come in and talk to us just about the high percentage of people in East San Jose, for instance. It's, 27% of folks getting tested over there were positive. Was there any thought to making sure that those highly impacted areas were set up first with multiple vaccine stations, or is that something we've learned from this experience for next time?
Right, and the answer is we're absolutely doing that, and we are in East San Jose. We're in South County with pop-up and other types of vaccine availability. We have the downtown, the Gardner Health Family at the Mexican Heritage Plaza has vaccine that we're providing to a number of other churches. The fairgrounds is active. So we really focus our priority into the hardest hit communities because again, they have been hardest hit. We need to be vaccinating those who have the highest positivity rates, and that's where we've gone.
Wonderful. Why does vaccine, and I think somebody had caught something in one of your slides, I didn't see this, but why does vaccine efficacy vary by race group, by ethnicity? Is that true?
No, I hope I didn't mean to imply that. What happens when they do a trials, they try to be inclusive for everybody so that we will understand whether there potentially are any differences by age, by gender, by race and ethnicity. And it turns out with these vaccines, there is no difference. There is no difference.
Thanks for clarifying that. It might just be the way that we read the slide.
Yeah, I may have been unclear.
That's okay. Yeah, so I'm going to follow up on my previous question, just a question from Rosalie that I agree. If we have all those sites in under-resourced and high positivity neighborhoods, why are the vaccine rates so low?
Right. So, yeah. It's interesting. I mean, the county as itself, which does the bulk of the vaccinations, is focused on the hardest hit communities. A lot of the other resources are not. And so if you look at our county data, the number, where we're putting the vaccines, much higher percentages in those hardest hit communities. But clearly it's still an issue of issues of hesitancy in this community. Sometimes, we have the vaccine, but people are saying, I don't want it. I don't trust government. I don't trust you. I'm afraid you developed it too fast. There's something wrong with it. All kinds of issues that have been barriers that we're trying to get in and dealing with those myths and getting people vaccinated. So I think even when we have enough vaccine in our community, our work will still be ongoing to still try and get the people, even though we have the vaccine, to agree to be vaccinated. And so that's why, especially I just read a report in the New York Times that the Latino community across the country is disproportionately getting less vaccine. Is there less vaccine there? Maybe. And again, there's high rate of mistrust and hesitancy in the Latinx community.
Is the county working on some sort of a media campaign? I've actually seen some ads like on Telemundo. I was watching Damian Trujillo's show and they had some musicians or celebrities kind of saying, I got vaccinated and, kind of making it a thing. I'm just curious if that's part of the county's work as well.
Absolutely. I was just looking at a number of those messages that people in the community, the respected members, especially in the Latino community and in the Vietnamese community, have taped for us. Because I think people in the community want to see their trusted leaders, not us necessarily, even sports players. We have the Earthquakes and the 49, we have worked with them also to try to give that positive message.
Excellent. A question for you about kind of mobile delivery of vaccines. I know that Rotary had been working with Valley Medical Center on mobile units and delivery for the county, and it was shut down kind of all of a sudden. Do you have any details on that? And is there any other plan for a mobile van running around to get vaccines to the homebound? Or?
Right. We have a whole mobile program with 6 different teams, and one of them is in-home vaccinations. I was just over at a press conference with Bloom Energy and Carl Gordino. They just donated a mobile unit van to the county, and we're waiting for it to be delivered hopefully next month. So we want to be able to go to people's homes also and vaccinate people who can't get out of their homes to get to a vaccine site.
Wonderful. And I think, our Rotarian is saying too, that if you need our help, I know that there's several of us who are standing by and interested in helping.
Thank you for that. Absolutely.
We have a Rotarian that signed up. There's like 2 more questions, Marty. You are killing it here. So I just want to point that out. Good job. I signed up to do contract tracing, even took a Johns Hopkins class, but the only outreach I got was going to testing sites. Is contact tracing not effective, or was there a reason we were not called up? Sounds like someone's trying to volunteer.
Yeah, basically called upon hundreds and hundreds of people to help us early on with contact tracing. We were using it early on, and then when there were 2,000 cases a day, we couldn't keep up, and it wasn't, there was so much community spread. There is still contact tracing being done now with a much smaller group. So we thank the person who volunteered. Hopefully we won't need any additional work there as we get more people vaccinated.
Right.
So it worked out well, but thank you for volunteering, and sorry we didn't call you up.
Thank you, Gay Crawford, for volunteering.
Oh, is that Gay?
It was
Oh,
Gay.
my buddy.
I'm
That's
totally
great.
outing her.
Oh, she's my good buddy. She's my good buddy.
Aw.
I'm from we work together on the Cancer Society. Yes.
Oh,
Hi,
that's
Gay.
okay. Last question. And I appreciate this one, John Kennett. Why isn't the county requiring prison guards to get vaccinated?
Yeah, so we have taken vaccine to custody staff, and it's interesting. There's been a high rate of hesitancy. I think they were waiting for the Johnson & Johnson. I think they're scared of needles, to tell you the truth. But the numbers are going up. Early on, it's like I'm waiting for the Johnson & Johnson. I'm waiting to see, how safe it looks. And early on, there were high numbers of people that didn't want it in that group. But we're vaccinating people people in jail, and we're vaccinating people who are custody staff taking care of them. So hopefully they'll all get vaccinated.
I'm sure attorneys at the county would have something to say too, just about, the law around forcing people to get vaccinated.
Oh yeah, you can't force people to get vaccinated. You have to, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you can say you need to be vaccinated for this job, otherwise I will assign you somewhere else, but you can't require them to take a shot.
Thank you so much, Marty. Awesome. Really appreciate all those answers. Fernando, back to you.
Oh, thank you very much to the Mr. Rogers of the Public Health Department. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We look forward to seeing you again in the news, I'm sure. Next up, we've got Gay Crawford, who was recently lauded here. She's the founder of Cancer Care Point and club coordinator for Fine Opportunities. Gay, is your head big enough to take on this job?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Fernando. So we have two today, and Ed Correa is going to start. He's practically a regular on finding himself, so we thank him. He's the CEO of Sagacent Technologies, joined Rotary in 2011. So Ed, why don't you do yours, and then we'll have Heather with her special surprise.
Sure thing. I just keep trying to find the silver lining around the clouds during this. So that's why I keep volunteering myself. John, are you going to share the slide? There we go. So the reason I want to ring the bell, this is Yoko Chalk. This is my mother-in-law. She has been living alone up in Anchorage, Alaska during all of this, and we've had some tearful phone calls where she desperately wanted to come down and visit. And I kept saying, not until you're vaccinated, because I don't want to be the reason something happens. Within 2 weeks of her getting her final vaccination, she flew down and spent 12 days with us. And this is her running around the coast with all the wildflowers. It was just a fantastic time. Very happy.
How many rings there, Eddie?
Just one. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Ed.
And Heather Lerner, who joined Rotary in 2010 and was with the Boy Scouts of America. Okay, Heather, I know you have something fun. And one chat that happened a long time ago, people said they wanted to be fined for getting their vaccination. How appropriate for today. So if there's time afterwards, if anyone wants to add to their fine opportunity, but let's go to Heather.
You bet. Well, I know this is a super divisive issue within our club, so I want to put my money where my mouth is, and that is for Carl Salas's hair. I am pro Carl Salas's hair. I don't know if it's possible to do a split screen here. I put something in the chat several weeks ago about Carl's hair and how much I feel very strongly that he should not get it cut. So I would like to be fined in favor of keeping Carl's hair long. And I'm also issuing a challenge. If you'd like to join me in keeping the Carl's hair long campaign, put it in the chat. I'm going for one ring on this one. I hope to get this up. It's for the benefit of our club. Carl, I love your hair. You keep it long and strong, my friend.
Oh boy, anybody raise your hand if you want to be fined and join Heather for $100 to get, no, I wish you'd cut it, Carl. I'll
Well, you
put in
can put
100 to get
$100
it.
in. You can put $100 in to vote against me too. I would say pro, con, put $100 in the chat for Carl's hair, pro or con, and we'll just let the votes play out.
There you
Heather,
go.
I'll put $100. Mary Ann woke me up this morning and said, "That's it, Carl. You're getting a cut." So I'm actually
Carl, all
scheduled.
right. Do I hear more? Do I
But
hear more?
I'll go ahead and drop 200 on that so I can.
Oh, another one.
Fantastic.
Great.
I'll put, this is Rod. I'll put 100 in if he'll learn to braid.
Has to do it tonight.
This is Ray. Same here. Love your hair, Carl. Love your hair.
Thanks, Ray.
Don't cut it.
There you go.
Woo!
David
Hey,
Ginsburg
Money
says
for
to cut it.
Rotary. This is
I'm going to
great.
throw another 100 on there too, Heather, because you know what? I also want to, but I want to keep my hair. My wife is making me cut mine as well. So
Same with me,
Oh.
Jeffrey. Same with me.
Oh,
Jeff Pulley,
did
you have a fabulous mane. You keep that.
Jeff, did you say 100?
yes, sir.
Woo!
All right. Love that art studio you've got there, Jeff.
Thank you so much, friends.
Are
Thank
we
you,
all
Heather.
done? All
Yes.
done? Going?
Yeah.
Gone.
Hopefully
Man,
it's on the
that was a
recording.
successful, fine opportunity. All right, what do we got here? We got a poll from our executive director, Leslie. What do you got? There it is.
Unmute. There we go. Shout out to our incredible gala committee chaired by Sarah Janigan and Mauricio Cordova. Per Dr. Marty, things are looking better. We're hoping that we can have people on site on May 5th and want to get a sense of how comfortable folks will be. So I will give you a few seconds to continue voting.
It would help to know if those people are vaccinated that I sit with for the 4 to 6
Well,
people.
ideally, you're choosing your pod, Gay.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, you decide who you want to be with.
All right, so give it a few more seconds, last minute, like get those votes in. And I'm gonna go ahead and close polling and share the results. So this is helpful feedback for our gala committee, so appreciate people taking the time to participate.
Great. Thanks very much. Now I've got a couple of things for you. In case you missed it, every year on March 27th, there's a Whiskey Day Festival. The Scottish, Canadian, and Japanese whiskeys spell whiskey ending in IES, whereas the Irish and American whiskeys ended in EYS. The day is in support of research on Parkinson's disease, so it's not completely dissolute. And presumably you would be enjoying some whiskey no matter how that name is spelled. Next, especially here in California, April is Earthquake Awareness Month. You know, only 36% of us, 1/3 of us, feel prepared for an earthquake. The rest of us don't. We don't even have a plan on what to do when the big one hits. So to get an up to a minute alert notification if a 4.5 or greater earthquake on the Richter scale begins, you get this if you get this download on MyShake, MyShake, MyShake app, you get to know that, or through the wireless emergency alert system that you have on your phone. It's targeted geographically with text messages to users. I think it's a good idea to do this. I did get that MyShake app, and it's free. Who knows? An alert of even 1 minute might be enough of you to get the heck out of the house or get out of the way of danger. So try that. I don't know how many of you saw this, but yesterday, 6 female polio vaccinators were shot dead in Jalalabad in Afghanistan. Afghanistan and Pakistan remain as the only two countries in the entire world where polio is still endemic. It looks like we've got to overcome some amazing ignorance if we're to defeat this disease. It's such a problem, and it's ignorance that has prompted this regrettable and tragic end to these women, because not only are they women, but they're working on doing something that some of these folks are saying it's a ploy by the West to affect the population in some way, making the people unable to bear children or unable to sire children. I mean, it's just a very sad situation. So that's really what I wanted to bring up to you guys. Thanks to Marty Fenstersheib for today's program. I'll send him a thank you card if Sarah Janigan gets me his address. And thanks to our program committee and our Rotary staff in particular for being flexible with this change in our agenda schedule. Don't forget, next week is Dr. Lucy Shapiro. She'll be talking, timely enough, on the pandemic and future pandemic preparedness. She's a professor at Stanford School of Medicine in the Department of Biology and the director of the Molecular and Genetic Medicine Department there. She co-founded two companies which yielded fundamental insights into the living cell and has received an impressive number of awards and is an elected member of numerous professional organizations. In 2013, President Obama awarded her the U.S. National Medal of Science. And here's the following quote, which is very telling of her intelligence and tenacity. If you are confident in what you're talking about and your science is excellent, there is no need to be intimidated by anyone. And this is particularly important for women in science. So that's it, amigos. And as my favorite immigrant governor used to say, or paraphrasing, hasta la vista, Rotarians. See you next week. Thanks, everyone.
Good meeting. Very good meeting.
Thanks, Ray. Thanks, John.
Hey, John, you're on the screen. Maybe he wants to show your video.
If people want to see it, I think I know what went wrong and I could play it.
Thanks, John.
Would you like that? All right, let me see if I can spin it up here.
I'll hang out.
Yeah. You think? We have nowhere else to go, right? Let's see if it, no, it didn't. So John, when we ran this earlier, I started up a piece of software after that then took away the ability to run that video full screen.
Oh.
And so we had to run it out of PowerPoint on the first one. So let me get to the slide with the second one and hang on 1 second. I'll be with
20
you.
people remaining. I will tell you that there's one thing we've all learned on our project, and that is to be flexible and while being persistent. So this type of technology issue used to upset me, but not anymore. we totally understand. We really do.
Yeah, well, the way people around our group say it, it's one step at a time. So this one has no sound. And so maybe you can walk us through it.
Sure. So the thing that's unique about this design is the fact that there's a lot of stainless steel rods. These are currently anticipated to be 8 inches in diameter and extending up 200 feet in the air, where the bottom 100 feet are locked in with horizontal bracing, and the top 100 feet move, and their movement generates light or generates electricity that powers up a light on the top of each of those rods. I don't want you to be freaked out by some of these images of people walking on walkways that look like they don't have any perimeter protection. You can rest assured that there will be ample perimeter protection. And I personally want the perimeter protection to be much higher than what is required by code. This is a view looking towards the tower from a bridge that would be crossing the Guadalupe River north of Confluence Point. Obviously, this is an evening shot showing some lighting schemes that could happen. And by the way, this structure would be located outside of the riparian corridor. And the riparian corridor that we cannot build within extends from 100 feet out from the top of the bank of the Guadalupe River or Los Gatos Creek. So we are absolutely complying with all environmental, and you can see here that 100-foot setback from the top of bank is really what defines the eastern side of this structure. This is looking from obviously the Autumn and Santa Clara Street, looking off to the north there. The sun at that low angle in that direction actually makes very little sense, but that's because this designer is located in Perth, Australia. So we've got to educate him on the compass rose. This is looking across Santa Clara to the north. Again, some of these foothills to the upper left don't really make any sense, but don't get distracted with that. This is looking from Autumn to the south, from Autumn extended with the SAP Arena off to your right. And yes, that triangular shape in the middle is a shadow image of the old San Jose Light Tower. So there's a void space on the inside that will create a very nice open space on the inside. So that's the bridge I mentioned going across the river. That's anticipated that we would have an observation deck up on top, which is 200 feet in the air. And that's looking off to the east. And SMAR is the name of the architectural firm located in Perth, Australia, run by a guy named Fernando Jerez. So we like the name Fernando so much, we decided to hire the architect by the same name as our highly compensated president of the Rotary Club of San Jose. How was that?
Well done.
Thanks, Ed. It's always good to have you in our corner. Kathleen, it's so good to see you. I haven't had a chance to say hi, but I know you've been on a long journey, and I'm really glad to see you today. And I know you've been on a lot of lunch meetings in the past. Sorry I haven't had a chance to say hi.
Oh, thank you, John. Hello. An exciting project for sure. Your urban confluence. Very exciting.
Thank you so much. So any questions while I'm here? There's only, 18 of us left, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
I'd like to hear what some of the major milestones are for the future for the project.
Yeah. So thank you. Good question, Ed. The first major milestone is getting past this city council approval on May 4th. And that's very important. We are going to go out to large mega donors to help pay for this. And also people ask us a lot, by the way, about O&M and how to operate and maintain this thing and keep it clean. And our plan is to not only have a financial plan that funds the capital construction of it, but also we have a revenue generation plan and a fundraising plan that helps fund, almost like an annuity, ongoing operations and maintenance. I want for the few people that remain on the line here, I want to assure everybody that we are absolutely not, and we've never anticipated turning this over to the city and watching the city not maintain it properly when they go through a financial stress like they're going through right now due to the pandemic. So we've never planned on handling it that way. Milestones, we got to get past an EIR, Ed. So this, as opposed to trying to hit the easy button and do a negative declaration, as everyone on here, most of you know, a negative deck, we could do that, but it would make us too exposed to people that would file a lawsuit saying we didn't do our due diligence. So we're going to bite the bullet, go through the CEQA process, which takes over a year. So until we get past the environmental approvals and go through CEQA, we're going to be tempered in how much design we do, because we might have to do a little pivoting as a result of the studies that we go through to get environmental approval. So May 4th, CEQA approval, and continue on with design. And we've been stressing in our private meetings with each of the city council members, including the mayor, that we don't want a 6-5 vote. We want a unanimous vote. And we've had 2 unanimous votes in the past that have allowed us to move forward in our journey to the point that we are. But we don't want some kind of a narrow vote. We want to be able to look at donors in the future and show them that we have the full support of the city, not just partial support from the city council.
How will it affect traffic patterns in the area, and what can you do to accommodate pedestrians that want to see the work?
Yes, we plan on having this will be ADA accessible. People that can make it up on the ramps, the ramps will be sloped in accordance with California ADA requirements, and we anticipate elevators. Whether or not we have any food and beverage opportunity up on top remains to be seen. But if you're talking about car traffic will have to be part, traffic study will have to be part of this CEQA process. And we've been in contact with the Sharks. We've been in contact with everybody from Little Italy to GRPC and Spur and Google. And so we're gonna make sure that we cover all those bases, Tim. So does that answer your question?
Absolutely, thank you.
Okay.
I'm actually quite impressed with how well those rods are going to fit in with the whole riparian aspect of the river there.
Yeah. So lighting comes up a lot. And by the way, I will just speak openly and tell you that we know that the, hey, Devin Conway, looks like you got a beard. Good to see you again. It's been a long time. Lighting wise, lighting comes up a lot as a concern from the Audubon Society and also the Sierra Club. And we're going to hire a biologist to do the necessary studies that goes into CEQA. So I just want everybody to know, and please spread the word. We're not about killing birds and fish here. We are going to be doing the right thing. We're going to have science on our side. And there are those environmentalists in the community that feel like nothing should ever be built on Arena Green. And yet people like Jody Starbird, lifelong environmental consultant for David J. Powers, and now recent past president of the Guadalupe River Park Conservancy, has assured us, as has our consultants and legal attorney on the environmental side, that we can do this. So we're proceeding with that knowledge and confidence on our side.